You've heard the pitch a million times, right? The Bible isn't just a book, it's the book, the perfect Word of God. Flawless, timeless, the highest source of wisdom. We're told it's a divinely inspired blueprint for how to live, straight from the creator of the universe. It's supposed to be the ultimate source of moral clarity. Got a tough ethical problem? The answer's in there. Feeling lost in the chaos of life? This is your map. It's a heck of a sales pitch. I mean, a book with no mistakes, no contradictions, no parts that make you cringe? Who wouldn't want a guide like that? It sounds perfect. But what happens when you stop listening to the pitch and you actually open it? But here's the thing about claiming perfection. It's a high bar. It's not like saying a book is pretty good or influential. Perfection is an absolute. It's an all or nothing game. Think about it like a piece of code for a critical program, like an airplane's autopilot. If the programmer says the code is perfect, that means every single line has to be correct. There can't be a few buggy lines you just agree to ignore, because even one error can crash the whole system. So when someone tells you this book is flawless and inerrant, the same logic applies. It means there shouldn't be any parts you have to skip, explain away, or apologize for. No embarrassing bits, no verses that get quietly ignored in Sunday school, no skip this part when grandma's over. A perfect book would have nothing to hide. So let's take that claim seriously. Let's hold it to its own standard. If this book really is the perfect Word of God, it should easily stand up to a little bit of scrutiny, right? Let's just, open the book. And what's the first thing we find? Therefore, if it's perfect, we should find unparalleled wisdom, right? Well, let's turn to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25. Here's a situation it lays out. Two men are fighting. A woman, trying to save her husband, intervenes and grabs the other man's genitals. A desperate act in a violent situation. What is the divinely inspired, perfect, timeless solution to this scenario? You shall cut off her hand, show no pity. Let's just stop and think about that. The all-knowing creator of the cosmos, the source of all morality, has a rule for this. And that rule isn't de-escalate the violence or punish the one who started the fight. Nope. It's to find the woman who tried to stop the fight and mutilate her for life. Does that sound like transcendent wisdom to you? Or does it sound exactly like something written by deeply insecure Iron Age men who were obsessed with male honor and punishing women? It's not a moral law. It's a brutal rule designed to protect male anatomy at the expense of a woman's entire future. That's not a crack in the perfection. It's a gaping hole. Okay, so the morality is questionable, to put it mildly. But hey, maybe that's just a matter of interpretation, right? Apologists love to say, you're taking it out of context. It's their get-out-of-jail-free card for every barbaric verse. So let's put subjective morality aside for a second and talk about simple, objective facts. The claim is that this book is inspired by the all-knowing creator of the universe, the being that designed every atom, every planet, every living thing. So you'd expect him to get the basic details right about his own creation. Let's look at Leviticus chapter 11. It's giving a list of dietary laws, and it's specifically calling out winged insects that walk on all fours as detestable. Now, I'm not an entomologist, but I do know how to count. Insects have 6 legs, not 4. This isn't a complex scientific concept. It's the kind of basic mistake a kid might make if they weren't paying attention in science class. And sure, apologists will try to do verbal gymnastics to explain this away, saying it only refers to the front legs or whatever. But the text says what it says. the supposed creator of every species on Earth, who personally designed every leg and every wing, couldn't keep his number straight. This isn't just a typo. It's a signature. It's a signature of human authors from a pre-scientific age writing down what they thought they knew. It shows the book isn't divinely inspired. It's just wrong. These aren't just random, isolated bugs in the system. Therefore, when you start seeing this pattern of cruelty and error, you have to ask a bigger question. What kind of character would author a book like this? What does this tell us about the personality of the main character, God himself? Well, let's look at the evidence. In 2 Kings, you get a story where the prophet Elisha is walking along and some kids make fun of his bald head. A normal, secure person would, ignore it. But what does God's chosen prophet do? He curses them. And God's response? He sends 2 bears out of the woods to maul 42 of the kids. That's not divine justice. That's the cosmic equivalent of a schoolyard bully with access to apex predators. It's fragile ego wrapped in unimaginable cruelty. And it's not a one-off. The book flat out tells you this is his personality. In Exodus 34, it says, "Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." Think about that. We teach our children that jealousy is a toxic emotion, a flaw to be overcome. Yet the supreme being of the universe supposedly introduces himself by that name. He literally brags about having one of the most destructive human insecurities. When your holy book presents a deity who kills kids over bald jokes and proudly identifies with a petty human flaw, you haven't found the source of all morality. You found a literary character who was frankly a deeply troubled and violent narcissist. But I can already hear it. I can feel the furious typing in the comments section right now. Fareed, that's all the Old Testament. That's the angry, scary God. Jesus came along and fixed everything with love and forgiveness. It's the ultimate escape hatch, right? Just jettison the first 75% of your holy book and pretend it doesn't count. The problem is that excuse just doesn't work. The weirdness, the pettiness, the bad ideas, they all got a sequel. Let's take a look at the supposed main character of the New Testament, Jesus. In the Gospel of Mark, we get this bizarre story where he's hungry and walks up to a fig tree looking for a snack. The tree has no fruit on it, and the text itself in Mark 11 explicitly tells us, "For it was not the season for figs." So what does the all-knowing, loving Son of God do? Does he understand basic botany? Nope. He gets angry at the tree for following the laws of nature and curses it, causing it to wither and die. Think about what's happening here. The character supposedly has the power to heal the sick and raise the dead, and he uses it to throw a tantrum at a plant for being a plant. The petty, irrational ego we saw in the Old Testament didn't disappear, it just got a new agent. And it's not just pettiness, the misogyny got an upgrade too. In 1 Timothy, a book attributed to the Apostle Paul, you get this little gem. "I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet." There's no ambiguity there. And people will say, "Oh, that was just cultural for the time." Okay, fine. If it's just a reflection of a sexist ancient culture, then it's not a timeless, universal, divine truth, is it? It means your perfect book is contaminated by human prejudice. So which is it? Is it God's eternal law, which makes him a sexist? Or is it a flawed cultural opinion, which means your book isn't perfect? Either way, the excuse fails. The problems don't get washed away, they just get reprinted in a new section. So we've seen brutal laws, scientific errors, a petty, narcissistic God character, and a New Testament that continues the trend. All of these embarrassing, violent, and factually incorrect verses are in the book. Therefore, we arrive at the most important question. How can any modern, decent human still hold this book up as a perfect moral guide? And here's the answer. They don't. No one actually gets their morality from the Bible. They bring their own modern humanistic morality to the Bible, and then they sift through it like they're panning for gold, desperately looking for the few shiny nuggets that already agree with what they believe. This is the cherry-picking engine. It's why a modern Christian can eat a bacon cheeseburger without a second thought, completely ignoring the dietary laws in Leviticus, but then turn around and use a different verse from the same book to condemn their gay neighbor. It's why they can talk about family values while conveniently skipping the part about executing your disobedient teenager. They aren't following a divine command, they are using the text as a buffet, picking what they like and leaving the rotten food behind. What this proves is that the book isn't the source of their goodness. They are. Their innate, evolved sense of empathy and reason is what tells them that slavery and genocide are wrong. But if this book were truly perfect, there would be nothing to ignore. Nothing would be embarrassing. Nothing would require excuses. The very act of needing to reinterpret or ignore parts of your holy book is a confession that it's a deeply flawed human document. So, when you lay all the cards on the table, the picture is undeniable. This isn't a flawless revelation from a perfect being. It's a deeply, painfully human collection of texts, a patchwork of ancient laws, tribal prejudices, Bronze Age science, and violent folklore. But you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, you shouldn't. The evidence isn't hidden in some secret vault. It's right there, printed in black and white in the book that's probably sitting on a shelf in your house right now. Therefore, the most rational thing you can do is read it for yourself, critically, without the filters and excuses you've been handed. Ask yourself if a book that endorses slavery, celebrates the murder of infants, and gets basic biology wrong is really the best guide we have for living a good life in the 21st century. The embarrassment isn't just that these verses exist, it's that for centuries we've been told to pretend they don't. So, what's the most embarrassing or shocking verse you've ever come across? Drop it in the comments below, let's talk about it. And if you're a fan of ditching excuses for evidence, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stay rational.